Studio 10, Impact Hub Belgrade.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from the Impact Hub Belgrade. Today with us, we have one of the great grassroots organizations that will help co-host the Impact Hub European Gathering that will be held in Belgrade from 14th to 17th of September. Today with us, we have Aleksa Savić, who will tell us more about his organization, Izađi. Aleksa, thank you so much for coming, and the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex, Executive Director of Organization for Youth Group Come Out, situated in Novi Sad. The organization exists since 2010, initially as an informal group, and then it got registered in 2014, obtained its first space in 2018, and nowadays is running a community center for young LGBTI people here in Petra Drapština in Novi Sad. The organization provides this community center for young people for 4 days a week, from Wednesday to Saturday in the afternoon, evening hours. And there are youth workers available for young people to consult, but also to participate in facilitated youth work activities. Aside from the facilitated activities, they can also use whatever is available here for them, like free warm drinks, board games, a library, computers and Wi-Fi, and so on. The organization also runs free psychological counseling services for LGBTI people and members of our families, and has around 12 volunteers who provide these therapy services. As well as we work with the parents and other family members of LGBTI people. Another thing worthy to mention is that we are also involved in the advocacy. So we cooperate with institutions, mostly on the local level. And we've also organized the first ever Novi Sad Pride event in 2019. In public, in the open, and then after that, we've hosted Novi Sad Pride Weeks almost every year since then.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you for the intro. I wanted to ask you, you said you work with young people. Has your organization had any experience with entrepreneurship, and do you see any challenges, and what would be the opportunities, let's say, there?
For years since the organization started functioning, there hasn't been much space for us to actually deal with entrepreneurship and support entrepreneurial initiatives, because there were more elementary needs that we had to support the community in obtaining, like to be mentally well or to not drop out of the education system and so on. And speaking of that, I wanted to point out that one of the challenges of LGBT people when it comes to employability is actually this. There are often obstacles when it comes to education, which later influences capabilities of LGBT youth to get a job or decent payment. When it comes to us as the organization and entrepreneurship, a large step happened at the end of last year, beginning of this year, when a team of us from the organization won a youth competition in social entrepreneurship, which was on the national level, organized by Smart Collective. And the idea with which we won was about starting an LGBT bar in Novi Sad, in which young transgender people would do their internships as bartenders or waiters, and later get our support in order to get employed in other bars or restaurants in the city. Meanwhile, we would be doing sensibilization training courses for the owners of those places, and hopefully one day also negotiate with the local authorities in order to recognize this whole initiative, and also the engagement of those business owners from the city. Now, what we hope will happen in some months is a large fundraising campaign in order to actually be able to start the initiative. And we expect that we might be starting with the initiative step by step. So some of the segments first and some later, because we are aware that this is a full-scale business that requires a lot of dedication. But all in all, we were happy to, be the only LGBT group that competed over there in the competition and actually win. And we've already been inspiration for some of the young people here from Novi Sad to learn more about the soft skills, or just to check the availability of the jobs here in Novi Sad and what they could work on.
It's amazing. You mentioned at the beginning that there are a lot of hardships in LGBT community finding jobs nowadays, and amazing work with the pub. But I wanted to ask you, so there is a lot of hardships in finding the jobs these days, but we also witness an increasing level of effort in a lot of companies to include LGBT QI plus cause. And it is especially consistent during the Pride Week and the Pride Month. So even though it is a positive thing, what do you think are the hardships and the risks and the downfalls of that?
Of the support that the companies is trying to provide.
Yeah, and especially during the Pride Month and Pride Week.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that for sure the community is commenting on is the time when the companies or organizations are showing publicly the support. So we would always recommend those who are authentically interested to support the community to not focus this support just on the weeks in year when this public support is kind of expected. So try to pick those months when there's less attention to LGBTI problems. So try to also show that you as companies are there even when this is not expected from the public, because this all becoming vocal during the weeks when this is expected leads everybody to recognize such behavior and practice as pinkwashing, which is the involvement of LGBTI issues in obtaining profit. Therefore, I mean, we are there. There are organizations, at least in Serbia, but in a lot of other countries here around and over the world, with which you can contact and check what's going on, what are the current issues of the communities that are working there, and try to vocalize those needs and problems aside from the time when this is expected. Then what is also a challenge there is what is the level of the challenge the companies would like to cover in their addressing, because there are very different professional levels of the people within the community. So there are those who work very poorly paid jobs that had to drop out of the education or are barely making the ends meet. And then there are those who did manage to obtain a higher degree of education or have a decent payment and so on. So it would be important to somehow recognize that there are also very different levels of employment and material status within the LGBTI community and not forget anybody there. This is something that happens a lot, like at least here in my country, the companies which are better developed, like stronger financially, they somehow forget those who are maybe working as service providers or those who have very low wages. And they address just those who are working in similar companies like IT industry. Meanwhile, it would be important to really recognize that there's a lot of people who are who we are meeting every day, you know, working in the stores or working in bars and other places in which the wages are lower and actually discrimination is even higher. There are no protection mechanisms that are implemented by the business owner. There are laws, but there's also a question of how much the laws are implemented, and so on.
Thank you so much. One last thing, you will be involved in the Impact Hub European Gathering as a co-host. And at the same time, Europride will be taking place in Belgrade as well. What are you looking forward the most about this time?
When it comes to Europride, I do not expect much more than from the regular Belgrade Prides. Maybe I would just wish that the whole event inspires more young people from Serbia who are part of the community to go out in the street and to embrace the protest component of the Pride, because this is what it is about. When it comes to Impact Hub, I'm looking forward to involving more of the issues of the LGBTI community when it comes to employment and people generally from the community being in employment. I think this is important to use the opportunity to raise up the issues, and also for people working in different businesses and the organizations to receive this opportunity to openly talk to people from the LGBT community, to understand what are the issues and to understand how we defined our issues instead of somebody else defining them.
Well, Aleksa, thank you so much. This was a lovely talk. So once again, to say goodbye to everyone and to say a big thank you to Aleksa, who is here with us today, and a message to everybody to follow our journey and to follow us during the Impact Hub European Gathering that will be held from 14th to 17th of September in Belgrade, and to also follow Aleksa and his organization. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day.